we're talking on the theme of education. And Kathy, I want to start with a really basic question, which would be something like, what is Tourette? But I think that's not really a fair question. That could go in a lot of different directions depending on your background. And we know you're not a medical professional, you're not a neuropsychologist. You have teaching in your background, but mostly you're a mother who's raised three children with varying degree of Tourette, and you've done a great deal for families of children with Tourette. So let me ask you a more limited question. Instead of what is Tourette, what would a teacher who's new to this need to know about Tourette? Sort of what is it, but limited down to what would be relevant for a teacher or an educator who's new to this, need to know about this condition?
Okay, and I would add that I've been an education specialist for the last 30 years. So I have talked to many, 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 many thousands of teachers about Tourette. First of all, it's an extraordinarily complex neurological disorder. And the complexities are difficult for students and difficult for teachers because a lot of the symptoms look like purposeful bad behaviors, and they're not. They're neurological. It has to do with the brain. It's not something that the kid wants to do, and he doesn't want to be bad. And also another complicator is that it impacts students differently. So if you've had one kid with Tourette, you've had one student with Tourette. That doesn't mean that the same thing is going to be true for all the students that you have with Tourette. And another complicator is that symptoms change, even within the individual. So you may get used to some symptoms, and then next week there may be some different symptoms. And lastly, well, probably not lastly, but also they can sometimes disguise their symptoms or inhibit their symptoms. And so they may be holding their symptoms in, and so you may not see the reality of it. Usually in the beginning of the day, they're typically easier to inhibit. And as the student gets tired by the end of the day, it gets much more difficult, which is easy to understand because all of us get tired.
Okay, excellent. So some of the points I heard, you made a lot of good points, is that what might look like naughty behavior is involuntary behavior. This is a neurological condition. So what's going on is beyond a student's control, or sometimes, like your last point, sometimes a student might be able to control or mask some of it, but as stress and anxiety and the fatigue of the day wear on a student, could become harder for them to control or cover up their symptoms. And also that these are really individualized cases. So one student with Tourette is not going to look possibly at all like another. And that symptoms can change during the course of the year, the course of a student's time with the teacher. So each day could look a little bit different.
Right. And you said something that's important. Stress will almost always bring out symptoms more. Makes it harder to manage the symptoms. And the best way that teachers and schools can help a student is to come up with strategies on how to manage them, because they can't really stop them or control them necessarily, but they can learn somehow to manage them. And you want to include the student in that discussion.
Okay. Thank you.